Have you ever found yourself standing in the grocery store aisle, staring at a brand name item you really want, only to put it back and choose the cheapest version instead? Maybe you felt a small sting of pride for saving $2, but deep down, there was a heavier feeling of physical and mental exhaustion. It is now 2026, and for many of us, the dream of a comfortable retirement feels like it is slipping through our fingers like dry sand. You have worked hard for over 30 years. You have skipped countless vacations, and you have driven the same reliable car long after the paint started to fade and the engine began to groan. You have followed every piece of traditional financial advice that told you to cut every possible expense and live on as little as humanly possible. But here is the question that no one wants to ask out loud in this modern economy. Are you actually building wealth, or are you just practicing how to be poor for the rest of your life? There is a massive, life-altering difference between being disciplined with your money and being a lifelong prisoner to your own bank account. The truth is that for many people in their 50s and 60s today, this mindset of extreme frugality is actually the very thing standing in the way of true retirement security. Before we dive into the data that proves why your current saving habits might be backfiring in 2026, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have ever felt a wave of guilt for spending money on something you truly enjoyed, leave a comment below saying, "I am ready to change my mindset." Your engagement helps us share these critical financial insights with more people who are struggling with the exact same worries and sleepless nights. Now let us look at the cold reality of our current economy in 2026. We often hear from financial gurus that to retire comfortably, we need a minimum of $2 million. But according to recent data from the Federal Reserve, only about 1.8% of households ever reach that seven-figure milestone. That means 98% of the population is looking at a much smaller number when they finally decide to walk away from the workforce for good. The median retirement savings for someone approaching retirement age currently sits at around $200,000. When you apply the old 4% withdrawal rule to that amount, you are looking at an annual income of only $8,000. Even when you add Social Security to that figure, it represents a life of mere survival, not a life of true enjoyment or freedom. So, the natural human reaction for most people is to clamp down even harder on their spending. You stop going out to dinner with friends, you cancel every streaming service, and you stop visiting your grandchildren because the plane tickets feel like an impossible luxury. But here is the hidden cost that the mainstream financial experts never talk about on the news. It is a psychological condition called frugality fatigue. Think of your willpower like a heavy-duty rubber band. You can stretch it and stretch it to save every single penny, but eventually that tension becomes too much, and it is going to snap. When it finally snaps, you do not just spend a little bit of money. You often go on a massive binge of emotional spending that wipes out months or even years of progress. This is a biological rebellion against a life that feels like a constant punishment. But there is a deeper, more dangerous cost to this mindset that affects your very survival. In 2026, the estimated cost for a couple to cover basic medical expenses in retirement has climbed to over $330,000. If you arrive at the age of 65 with $1 million in the bank, but a body that is broken from decades of chronic stress and a mind that has literally forgotten how to be happy, you have not won the game of life. You have lost the most valuable and non-renewable asset you ever had, which is your vital energy. Money is a renewable resource that can be earned back, but your time and your physical health are gone forever once they are spent. If you spend your best years living in a dark tunnel with no milestones, no celebrations, and no rewards, you will not have the vitality left to enjoy that money once you finally reach the exit. Many people tell themselves a dangerous lie, that they will finally start living once they officially retire. They say, "I will travel when I am 67. Or I will finally take up that painting hobby once the mortgage is totally paid off." But human life does not work like a light switch that you can just flip on whenever you feel ready. If you do not practice the art of enjoyment now, your brain will actually lose the neural pathways required to experience joy when you finally have the time. The person we call the silent worrier often thinks that saving $5 on a daily cup of coffee is a massive financial victory. But let us look at the actual math behind that sacrifice. If you buy a $5 coffee every single day for 30 years, it adds up to approximately $54,000. That sounds like a significant amount until you realize that in 2026, $54,000 would barely cover a few months of specialized medical care or a modest home renovation. The real problem is not the $5 coffee itself. The real problem is the massive amount of mental energy and decision fatigue you waste obsessing over it every single morning. Every time you deny yourself a small, harmless pleasure, you are reinforcing a message to your subconscious brain that your life is nothing but a series of endless sacrifices. This creates a pervasive poverty mindset that prevents you from seeing the massive, big-picture opportunities that actually move the needle. The person who is constantly worried about $5 is usually too stressed and too narrow-minded to notice the investment opportunity that could make them $50,000 in a single year. Their vision is permanently locked on the dusty ground, searching for pennies, while the real gold is sitting right on the table at eye level. So, how do we fix this broken system without being reckless or irresponsible with our future? The answer lies in a strategy we call strategic rewards. Successful millionaires who have stayed wealthy and healthy for decades do not eliminate all spending from their lives. Instead, they use a structured rule that we call the 5% Power Fund. Every single month, no matter how much you are aggressively saving for the future, you must take 5% of your post-tax income and spend it on something that specifically recharges your internal battery. This is not a suggestion or a luxury. It is a fundamental requirement for your long-term financial and psychological survival. Maybe it is a high-quality pair of ergonomic walking shoes that keeps you active and prevents joint pain. Maybe it is a weekend trip to the coast to clear your head from the constant noise of the 2026 news cycle. Or maybe it is just a high-quality dinner with your spouse where you make a pact not to look at the prices on the right side of the menu for one night. When you give yourself these strategic rewards, you are not throwing money away. You are investing in your own mental consistency and your ability to stay disciplined for the long haul. It is much easier to save 95% of your income toward a goal when you know that the other 5% is sacred and dedicated entirely to your personal joy. This prevents the rubber band of your willpower from snapping and causing a financial disaster. It keeps you engaged in the game for the decades it takes for the miracle of compounding interest to work its magic. Remember, the journey to the first $1 million is always the hardest and the slowest, because it relies almost entirely on your own physical labor and your own daily sacrifices. But once you pass that first major milestone, the laws of mathematics begin to take over the heavy lifting for you. In a growing market, $1 million portfolio can earn over $100,000 in a single year without you working a single extra hour. That is the incredible moment when your money starts working significantly harder than you ever could. But you will never actually reach that point of freedom if you burn out in the first 10 years because you were too frugal to enjoy a single day of your existence. True wealth is not a static number in a digital bank account. True wealth is the ability to fully and authentically experience your life while you are still healthy enough to do so. If you are 45, 50, or 60 years old right now, you are currently in the prime years of your wisdom and your experience. Do not let the paralyzing fear of a hypothetical future steal the vibrant reality of your present moment. In 2026, the world has become more unpredictable and faster than we ever imagined. We see massive fluctuations in the global markets, rapid shifts in politics, and fundamental changes in the way we work and earn. In this environment, the only thing you can truly and fully control is how you manage your own energy and your own daily perspective. You absolutely deserve to feel secure about your retirement, but you also deserve to feel alive and inspired today. Before we conclude today's analysis, I want to ask you to do something small but incredibly meaningful for yourself. Look at your personal budget for this month and find one specific area where you have been being far too hard on yourself. Allow yourself one strategic reward this week that will make you feel like a human being again, not just a line item on a cold spreadsheet. If you found real value in this perspective, please share this video with a friend or a family member who is also quietly worried about their future. And if you have not already joined our community, Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell right now. We are dedicated to bringing you the uncomfortable truths about wealth building that the mainstream media is too afraid to discuss. Let us know in the comments section what your one strategic reward is going to be this week. Reading your stories and your commitments helps us build a community of people who are choosing to be both financially wise and genuinely happy. As we look toward the challenges and the opportunities of the rest of 2026 and beyond, always remember that money is just a tool. A hammer is only a useful object if you actually use it to build a house you want to live in and share with the people you love. If you just spend your entire life polishing that hammer and never actually building the house, you will end up with nothing but a shiny tool and nowhere to call home. Build your life with deep intention and courage. Save with wisdom, but spend with a clear and joyful purpose. The version of you that reaches retirement in 10 or 20 years will thank you not just for saving the money, but for saving the spirit and the health required to enjoy it. You are doing much better than you think you are. Keep moving forward, stay consistent with your goals, and never forget that the absolute best investment you will ever make is the one you make in your own well-being. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in our next deep dive analysis.